Good evening, everyone, and welcome into DETV Sports. Another great episode planned for you guys tonight. Post-Halloween, here we are November 1st on a Tuesday, and we've got some great stuff lined up for you. NFL trade deadline coming to a close here today. A lot of interesting moves all across the league, as well as some more NBA news that we're going to get to in a little while, as Brooklyn may be looking for a new head coach here today as well. So a lot to get into, as always. Jason McCall and Matt Maurer. Guys, great to see you. Jason, how's your week been so far?
Week's been great. I had a couple of days of work in so far. We had a great weekend at homecoming. Shout out to the Hornets. And glad to be back, and let's get rolling. We got a lot to talk about and some interesting topics here.
Yeah, we've got some good stuff. Matt, great to have you back as always. And did you guys able to pick up a fantasy win this past weekend? How's your record looking coming into today's show?
I'm over 500 now. So.
Hey, that's all you got. Where you got to be?
Starting to
right
right the
now,
ship,
right?
right the ship.
Exactly right.
It's a process.
Yeah, I actually did pick up a fantasy win in the last minute. Thank you, Burrow, for those 2 late garbage touchdowns. He's my starter.
Yeah.
All I needed was his points.
Well, there you go. He made you a little bit worried there early on in that one. Not a great performance
A little
for
bit,
Monday
almost
night.
the
You
last-
know what? Let's start right there. Why not here quickly before we get into some of this trade deadline stuff. Monday Night Football. Usually we talk to you ahead of the games on Monday night. Here we are on a Tuesday. So why not recap what we saw last night in the Browns putting a beating on the Bengals. Got after them early in this one, led 11-0 at the half, blanked them 14-0 in the third quarter, carried that into the fourth, on their way to a 32-13 win. Guys, as always, Nick Chubb has looked fantastic so far this year. Another day with multiple touchdowns for, I think, the lead running back in the National Football League. The Browns pick up a win over the hot Bengals here at home, guys. Browns able to get another win, and also Kareem Hunt going to stay put in Cleveland. Let's start with that here, Matt, for sure, because I know me and you were talking about that this last week or so. Mm-hmm. They were just looking for a fourth-round pick for Kareem Hunt. They weren't able to get it. He'll stay with the Browns, and they got a big win last night.
Yeah, you could tell that the Browns were to the last minute trying to get something for Kareem Hunt. At the end of the game, we started to see Dearness Johnson come in there and get those carries. Kareem Hunt was on the sidelines talking to Chubb. So, Hunt, at the beginning of the season, has been frustrated with where he's at in the offense. And I got to tell you, we got to definitely give hats off to Jacoby Brissett. I mean, the job he's done holding the ship down before Deshaun Watson steps in has been admirable. And, I mean, he's been great. I mean, I don't think we can say enough about him. He's been getting Amari Cooper involved, Donovan Peoples-Jones at times, and feeding Njoku, who Baker Mayfield really struggled to get involved in the offense. So, great deal of respect he should get for being a backup. I mean, he's been tremendous this year.
Yeah, Jason, you know the AFC North as well as anybody. Jacoby Brissett went 17 of 22 last night, 278 yards and a touchdown, 133.7 quarterback rating. That's pretty darn good. Amari Cooper, as Matt mentioned, had a $130 and a touchdown. That Cleveland offense was humming last night. Chubb over the century mark as well.
Let's start with the running backs. We talk about the Browns a lot. In like different barbershop talks and different texts. A lot of people have Nick Chubb or one of the two in their fantasy. Mm-hmm. I have Nick Chubb in my fantasy roster. One of those guys. But
congratulations.
This Browns team. The reason why I think Hunt wasn't moved, I think there probably could have been a deal for Hunt for a fourth rounder. But at the same time, when you look at their offense, look at other teams right now. A lot of teams have tandem backs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And what better tandem to have in your backfield
There is none, right?
than two Pro Bowlers. So let's not forget that Kareem was a former Pro Bowler.
Oh, yeah.
And he can pretty much do what Chubb does. They're more like a lightning and thunder type of deal. So I think keeping them together means that they're still thinking playoffs, even at 3-5, because it's still a long season. And like you said, shout out to Jacoby Brissett. He's done nothing but steady ships wherever he's played. He's always been that guy to come in for a few games or maybe even start. Mm-hmm. And this is probably the most talented roster he's actually had to work with since he's been in the NFL. Didn't have much to work with in Indy when they weren't healthy.
Yeah, or New England when he filled in.
Or New England.
Yep.
And then in Miami for a little bit of time he was there.
Yeah.
So
I forgot about that one.
I think if he finally has a team where he can have some weapons, and like you said, Amari Cooper, they paid him the money. We were questioning it, but now we're seeing why they paid the money. He's still young. He's still a wide receiver number one for most teams. Mm-hmm. And my thing is, with the way Brissett is playing, I know they paid Deshaun, or they gave him the money. But do you disrupt the rhythm? Let's say if they're like, what?
They win the next couple?
Next couple. Do you disrupt that rhythm when he's able to come back to the team? I mean, it's one of those things where you gotta think about that. But the Browns did what they were supposed to do. You had a Myles Garrett Halloween sighting. You know, he loves Halloween, so
That's right.
one of his favorite days of the year. But you also saw Clowney last night. You know,
He's been battling some injuries this year.
and whenever Clowney and Garrett are on the field, the Browns win.
Yeah.
They literally win when they're both on the field together. And they just had a great defensive game plan. And I think that this game says more about the Bengals' offensive line than it does about Jamar Chase not being there.
I agree.
The offensive line is atrocious, and they won't go anywhere if that line's all the money they paid for it continues to play that way.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Myles Garrett, I mean, my Lord. I mean, he's lining up, and there must have been 4 or 5 plays. It seemed like every snap he was hitting that spin move and going right past the guy, and he hit him with a spin, or he'd do a juke fake and a move and a rip.
Just move out the way. Yeah,
Yeah, it was incredible to see. I mean, they had no answer for him. There was nothing they could do, and basically Burrow was back there like, please,
help me.
Give me some help. Give me 2 seconds to make a read. But, I mean, you know, Garrett, and to your point, Jason, Clowney, when he's there and the Garrett's there, it's very hard to move those guys. They can really disrupt you in the pocket really fast. So, yeah, the Browns are going to go as far as the defense carries them. I know we love to talk about offense because it sells tickets, but defense wins championships. So they're going to go as far as they can keep Garrett and Clowney on that field.
Again, the Browns now just a game behind Cincinnati, 2 games behind Baltimore in the AFC North. Still a lot of time to play there, but not a great showing for the Bengals in that first game without Jamar Chase. Obviously, the offensive line wasn't great either, but no Jamar Chase certainly doesn't help. 4 to 6 weeks, though, they did not have to put him on IR, so there may be hoping he can come back before that 4-week mark. We'll see what the Bengals do going forward, but we thought maybe slow start, shown some flashes with a couple wins in the middle so far, and then this last one didn't look good. So you don't really know what to expect with the Bengals moving forward. But let's now head to the NFL trade deadline, guys. Today there was numerous deals done. It was an NFL record for trades on the day of the NFL deadline here in the National Football League. Numerous ones. We talked earlier in the week about Christian McCaffrey made his way from Carolina to San Francisco. Kadarius Toney going from the Giants to the Chiefs. We might get a chance to see him on Sunday night in his debut. On the field, we'll wait and see. Funny, as soon as he got traded, he said, I'm healthy. As soon as he got traded to the Chiefs, he said, I'm healthy now. So we'll see how that goes going forward. But guys, the last 2 that stand out late yesterday and early today was the Ravens. Jason, your Baltimore Ravens trading for Roquan Smith, the NFL's leading tackler so far this season. Just your thoughts here on what Baltimore did, what they had to give up to get one of the best linebackers, if not the best linebacker in the NFL.
I'll say he's the best tackling linebacker in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Give him that.
Yep.
It's a great move, not just because I like the Ravens, but because from a defensive standpoint, it allows the corners to just play coverage and not have to have Humphrey coming up and tackling, not having to have Peters coming up helping out tackling. The Ravens' problem has been poor tackling all season. You have a guy who's a leading tackler in the NFL and top 2 the last 5 years in tackles.
Yeah.
You shore up that spot. You put him next to Patrick Queen. Now you have 2 premier inside linebackers. Then you have Owe on the outside. You have Ojabu. Then you have Tyus Bowser coming back. And you still have Calais Campbell and Madubuike up front.
That's right.
And you still have a great back end. Like you said, you have Humphrey, you have Peters, you have Geno Stone, you have Chuck Clark. He's the guy, if the Ravens had them a few weeks ago on some of those fourth quarter blunders, those L's turn W because he's smacking somebody, he's tackling them, and those leads aren't getting blown like that. So they shore up the defense, and now the market is focused on, you know what, I know I got somebody back there now that I can kind of right the ship and call the plays and get everybody together. I can just focus on doing what I got to do. And it's a great move. However, the Ravens picked up another player who acts as his own agent, who was contract up at the end of the season. So you have to deal with Lamar trying to get a new contract and Roquan Smith trying to get a new contract, and they're both their own agents. interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Again, Baltimore a game back, a game up on Cincinnati in the AFC North. Does this move? I think me and you both had them as our division champions before the season. In the preseason, we had them over Cincinnati, who would follow them up in the AFC North. Does this move solidify that? Do you think they're still AFC North champs?
Yes. And now we see that the Deshaun Jackson deal wasn't so bad as Bateman's going to be out a few weeks.
Yeah, multiple weeks.
Need that speed threat. Mm-hmm. And if anything Deshaun is, he's that.
That is true.
But we had the emergence of the rookie, Isaiah Likely.
I liked what I saw out of Likely. And again, we're not sure what we're going to get with Andrews going forward.
He's
Matt,
hurt too right now.
that shoulder, he's banged up. They got a bye week next week. So it acts like he's going to play this week. It wouldn't surprise me if they sat him, gave him that 2 weeks to get prepared so he can lead into the bye week. Just in terms of, we'll talk fantasy for a second, Matt, is Likely somebody that's on your radar due to Andrews' injury? You think he'll be fine and you don't have to worry about that going forward?
I don't necessarily know about this year just because Mark Andrews is definitely the tight end one. But if I was in a dynasty league,
yeah, there you go, absolutely.
That's certainly a guy that I would want to have. I think he's the future. And I think maybe with another year, it wouldn't shock me if the Ravens have like a dual tight end. They've kind of put that out there now.
Tight end
yeah,
sets,
they've kind of done that. But I think Lively's starting to hit his stride. He's starting to get more involved. I mean, Jason certainly would know more than I would. That's his team. Mm-hmm. So, you know,
I like
I'm
what I
impressed
saw
with
out of
everything
him
I've
on
seen.
Thursday. Yeah,
I did pick him up.
See, there you go, right?
Only because tight ends are at a premium in the league I'm in.
Tight ends are bad.
And I'm
every
like,
league.
tight ends are bad every league this
They're
year.
wasteland, right?
This year it's like, who is it? You know?
Conklin's a top 10 tight end.
That says a lot.
He finally found the end zone again this week after a
found
big
the end zone.
hiatus.
And on that note, let's move on.
So another one, though, one that kind of started the snowball effect here of trades this morning was a big one here in the NFC North. The Vikings going to stay in the division, and they send T.J. Hawkinson, their longtime, very talented pass catcher and tight end. He's heading, of course, to the Minnesota Vikings, who we found out after the trade that Irv Smith Jr. would be heading to IR. He's going to be out 8 to 10 weeks, so we're not going to be able to see him again. But they found a pretty good replacement. They get T.J. Hawkinson 2 fourth-round picks. They send T.J. Hawkinson and 2 fourth-round picks, and they get back a second-rounder and a third-rounder in 2024. Jason, we'll start with you here. T.J. Hawkinson now going to be in Minnesota Vikings uniform. Minnesota has some good pass catchers. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. They got Dalvin Cook in the backfield, and now they add T.J. Hawkinson. They were both our picks, once again, the NFC North before the season. That's a great addition going forward.
If this doesn't put the ink on the stamp, that division. But smart move, Minnesota. Detroit, what the hell is going on out there? You guys haven't fielded a winning team in I don't know how long, and then you wasted a lot of people's primes. You wasted Barry's prime. You wasted Megatron's prime.
You can argue Stafford.
And Stafford's prime. And you trade your best player in division where you have to see them 2 times a year. This is the most asinine trade I've seen in a while. Like, it doesn't make common sense, doesn't make street sense, doesn't make dollars and cents, doesn't make any sense. Like, this is a dumb trade about Detroit. If you brought in Jared Goff and you're still paying him that contract and his money, and you give away his second best pass catcher, if you want to count Amon-Ra St. Brown as number 1, but that's debatable, that's 101A, if you will. You're not trying to win. And Detroit has proven over the last 25 years that they're really not trying to win.
At all.
So if I'm their fan base, this is a big slap in their faces. Again, who's next? Is Amon-Ra St. Brown on trade block now?
Oh, no.
I mean, or next year, is he going to demand a trade off season like this? But again, Vikings, great pickup. You needed that intermediate threat where Kirk Cousins has to go deep downfield. And he has that safety valve now.
And again, Irv Smith has had trouble staying on the field these last few years. Once again here, we're seeing a long-term injury. Probably won't see him the rest of the season now, especially since they go and get T.J. Hawkinson. Matt, how do you view this trade? They give up 2 fourth-rounders with Hawkinson. They get back a second and a third. Again, Hawkinson maybe not the youngest guy, but he's certainly not the oldest guy either. A great pass catcher. And like Jason said, what it says to me is they're not trying to win. Coming into the season, they had maybe a little bit higher expectations in Dan Campbell's second year, Jared Goff's second year in that system. They had a little bit of a good start. That offense was putting up some big points for the first 3 weeks of the year. But now you fast forward to here they are again. When you're looking at the playoff picture, they're not really in it. Just 1-6 after 7 weeks with that bye week in there. What do you think about all this?
You know, if you watch Hard Knocks, they had this little
absolutely, we did
mantra,
too.
and they said grit. Well, I think next year's mantra should be logic, because this makes no sense. As Jason pointed out, it's stupid on a multitude of levels. Tight ends are, you know, literally, if you have a good tight end, and look, we're not saying TJ Hawkinson is, you know, Travis Kelce or somebody like that, but he's in the tier below those guys.
Yeah, he's right there.
Okay? You already have problems if you're playing Minnesota with Justin Jefferson. You have problems with Dalvin Cook. You have Thielen now that's there. That's, again, he's in the sunset of his career, but Osborne is a good wide R3 that they have there. It just doesn't make sense because you've essentially given them a better chance of getting Jefferson more involved, because now you got to pick up that intermediate threat with Hawkinson. And that just allows Jefferson more ability to go one-on-one, and that's not good. So I don't understand the trade. I think Detroit, maybe they've said, look, who cares? We got Jamison Williams coming. That's, for those who don't know, that's the rookie from, I believe it was Alabama that was drafted. He's coming back. We don't know if it's this week, but I know they do have a timetable for him in the next couple weeks. So maybe they're trying to see what they got with him. I don't know. The trade doesn't make sense. I don't think you would make that trade in Madden. I don't. It doesn't make sense to me.
Again, I'm not sure. I know 1-6. You want to maybe go the rest of the year. You're not, maybe making a run at the playoffs. But again, TJ Hawkinson, a big part of your team, and it's not like you got the house back, for him. And that's the issue. We're going to take, maybe first round picks are steep here in the NFL, but they did get a second and a third rounder. So we'll see how this plays out going forward. But Hawkinson, 4th in the NFL in receiving yards. Jason, 3rd in touchdowns. So he is a premier tight end.
The Lions will continue to be sorry and say do right by Jim Caldwell. This is the karma they get for firing him.
I like that.
It's true. Again, part of those other coaches, we have a nice list here that we think shouldn't have been fired after a year or two. Again, I'm still stand by Colk from the Texans last year. I forget his name now. David Culley, I thought he should have got another year or two after that.
Yeah, and let me just say one other thing too. I think with Chase Claypool getting traded, for example, like that's what smart teams do.
Let's start. That's our next topic. Let's get into it.
Okay, yeah. So they got George Pickens. George Pickens has been picking it up. Did not play well this past week.
No, he did not. I started.
But he's got really good potential long term.
No doubt.
Still got
Deontay Johnson there. Najee Harris, of course, has been a train wreck because the offensive line has been subpar. And then you have emerging Kenny Pickett. So maybe Kenny Pickett continues to take those steps forward. He does seem to have an eye for George Pickens. He's hit him multiple times. So if you're the Steelers, you say, okay, we got this plethora of good wideouts. Well, we'll trade Chase Claypool for a second round.
You got a second round pick back.
Yeah, a second round pick from this. That's what you do. If you have an overabundance, but you never hear of teams unless you're the New England Patriots when they had Gonzalez and Gronk that have an abundance of tight ends. So that's what makes the trade, less intelligent. But I really like what the Steelers did there, and I like the pickup for Chicago. I think it's going to help alleviate Darnell Mooney.
And again, Jason, they've been struggling with pass catchers down the field. They definitely didn't have a big guy that could go up and get the ball. I know Allen Robinson, they wanted that guy to be the last couple of years. Didn't really work out with him for Chicago. Starting to pick it up a little bit with the LA Rams. Had a few nice catches there on Sunday. But here, we just talked about it. Claypool now to the Bears. They needed that field starting to come on these last 3 or 4 weeks. Starting to look like he's picking it up a little bit. That Chicago offense starting to put up a little bit of points. What do you think of Claypool in a Bears uniform?
Scary hours. Because he's used to a scrambling quarterback and used to running those backyard playground plays like Ben used to do. Mm-hmm. He knows how to read the quarterback if the play breaks down. You have somebody with that kind of experience with a second-year player who really is still halfway, through his second year, but kind of like rookie at times with certain things. You've just helped out Justin Fields.
Tremendously.
And he needed it, right? Like you said, some of those young quarterbacks, they don't help them out, they can't evolve.
And you take the double teams off of Mooney.
I mean, he was their only threat as a pass catcher
offensively. But you give Cole Kmet some open passes now too.
Some come in and block, unfortunately.
So I think it's a great move. Claypool's still relatively young. And they have a core for the next few years.
They do. And he's big. He's such
big.
a physical
He's like
wideout.
6'4".
He can block. He's a big
he's a
guy. He can
physical
block,
wideout.
can catch the ball, run. They gave him the ball a lot. He can carry the ball a lot as
The
a running
last time they
back.
had a guy like this, Alshon Jeffrey.
He was good those early years.
The last time he had a guy like that with that size and speed, it was Alshon Jeffrey, and he put up numbers.
So we'll see what the Bears can do with him. Obviously,
Jay
they're
Cutler
going to
at
need him in that offense. They'll need him, I'm sure, as a pass
Jay
catcher.
could throw. He just couldn't throw on target. But he could throw the
Had a
ball
cannon, right?
through a brick wall, but he couldn't hit it, though. Couldn't hit the mark, bro.
Jay Cutler, I wonder what he's doing. But another big trade today that followed up Chase Claypool. They really rabbled in today. Again, NFL record for number of trades completed on the NFL trade deadline. Bradley Chubb, the talented top 5 overall pick back in the draft a few years back with Denver. He has been traded along with a 5th-round pick to the Miami Dolphins. So we've seen the Dolphins here in the offseason into this season. They are making moves. They're doing whatever it takes to try to bring some of these guys in. They went out and traded for Tyreek Hill. They drafted Jalen Waddle a year ago. And now they give up Chase Edmonds, who wasn't getting a lot of time with Raheem Mostert being the lead back in Miami. They give up Edmonds. They also attach a 1st-round pick as well as a 4th-round pick to go get Bradley Chubb. Jason, start with you here. What do you think about this deal? Is it a win for Miami?
I would have to say so. I mean, you're getting an elite pass rusher in Bradley Chubb, and you pair him with Jalen Phillips on that defense now, in that front 7. It's nasty. But also, I look at it as a win for both teams. I think this is a trade where, yes, Bradley Chubb is the really big name that's been traded, but Denver got 1st-rounder in next year's draft. So Denver got a 1st and a 4th, and a potential starting running back in the trade. So, but also means they punted on Russell Wilson in this season. Though.
I was going to ask you that. What do you think that says for them season?
They would love to hit the reset
now?
button right now. They probably wish that 250 could go on the refund.
Well, they probably swap Geno for him right now. If they had
Geno's
his
looking
choice.
real good.
He's looking real good, man. I'll tell you, he has that offense. And how about Pete Carroll? You guys see Pete Carroll's post-game press conference after? He had a little fun with the media on that, telling them that they couldn't run the ball or his offense couldn't work in today's game. So he was having some fun with the success of Geno Smith. But Bradley Chubb, a premier pass rusher, 16th in the NFL in sacks here so far this season. Just 5.5, but still a decent number for Bradley Chubb. Maybe we're used to a little bit more. I'm not sure how many he had last year, 26 tackles. But again, they get a 1st-round pick for him. Matt, who won this trade?
I got to say it's the Dolphins. I mean, they have an abundance of draft picks that they've accumulated through the years. Yep. I think their defense was missing something. It wasn't the defense that we projected in the beginning of the season.
For sure.
I think Chubb was kind of that missing factor. They didn't have a constant pressure of that quarterback. And I think getting Chubb is definitely going to give them what I think were missing ultimately. So their linebackers have always been solid there. Cornerbacks need a little bit of help at times, but for the most part, that pass rush really needed an upgrade, and I think Chubb definitely provides that for them.
Xavier Howard, not the Xavier Howard we're used to seeing here so far this year. He's getting a little bit older, but that happens, obviously, with guys on the back end. The Dolphins didn't stop there, though, Jason. They go out and get one of Mike McDaniel's old players back when he was in San Francisco. Jeff Wilson Jr. goes from Kyle Shanahan, now back from the 49ers to with his run game coordinator, Mike McDaniels, now in Miami. So now they get rid of Edmonds. They bring in Jeff Wilson Jr. They just kind of replace their backup right there. Now you got the 2019 San Francisco 49ers back. You got Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. So, Jason, they give up Edmonds in that deal to get Chubb, right? And then they bring in Jeff Wilson to be their number 2. Seems like not a bad trade-off there.
This is going to be a tandem backfield the rest of the season.
I agree.
In that system. And Michael Daniel ran that system.
Yes, he did.
This is like deja vu all over again, as the great Yogi Berra once said. So the rich keep getting richer. This Miami offense is insane. You have the 2 fastest wide receivers. You have Mike Gesicki at tight end. Then you add Mostert to the team already earlier in the season. Now you bring in Jeff Wilson. But you also have 2 running backs who are injury prone. So it's kind of like, what do you do?
And again, they're not
Especially
getting as
Mostert.
much work as they did, right, when they were with San Fran. And
Yeah.
both of them couldn't make it through the whole seasons when
No.
they were in San
Yeah.
Francisco. Here we are, week number 9. Now both of these guys are going to be getting
What,
a
on
lot of
paper?
the work. When they going to make it through the rest of the season in Miami, Matt? What do you think?
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
Not a chance with Mostert. I think Wilson has held up pretty well.
Yeah.
I know they were nervous because Wilson has, at least in the past seasons, has broken down at some point.
Yeah.
So when we lost all the backs, Elijah Mitchell, and I'm saying we because it's my team.
That's your team.
Right. That's right, exactly right. You got to let everybody know.
I gotta own it. I gotta own
Yeah.
it. But I also say this says a lot about what the Niners feel about Tyron Davis, who's the rookie that they have.
Yeah.
I think they really liked his talent coming in. He's been, on the injured. I think he's been injured or out with a hamstring or something. Something happened to him, and I think that's why Jeff Wilson was expendable. And also, like Jeff Wilson, I'm not trying to.
He's okay.
He's okay.
Yeah.
He's okay.
He's like a poor homeless man's version of Christian McCaffrey. He can catch, he
little
can
bit older,
run,
yeah.
but he can't do it at an elite level. But he's got periods of time where he can do it. He has a lot like Chase Edmonds. I think Chase Edmonds has better talent than Jeff Wilson, but I do think
More versatile, I think, too.
yeah. But I do think Jeff Wilson's a really good. I don't think they're going to miss a whole lot from losing
I agree with
Chase and getting Jeff, especially if Mostert can hold up for just 3-4 more games.
That's all you need to. Usually it's around this time, right? Maybe a few weeks ago.
I really say, and I'm saying this as a Niners fan, I really saw Mostert, and I said, this guy has the ability and the speed.
Oh man! Early
to
in his
be
career, he
a
looked
1,200-yard
right?
back.
He looked
easy.
phenomenal. He was on tackle a couple of those years early in the season.
We used to get all excited when he would take off, and you get the report about how fast he was going, miles per hour. It was like,
man.
my God, he's fast. And then hamstring
ACL,
or something.
yeah.
ACL is like, oh my goodness. So yeah, if Miami can milk him with Jeff Wilson and maybe they can get him through the whole season, to Jason's point, they're going to be a nasty, fast team. It's going to be hard to catch those guys.
They're probably the fastest team in the NFL right now.
I love it.
By
And again,
far.
and we got to give Tua his props at least for this year. I mean, I know he has the weapons out the wazoo. I was never a big Tua fan coming in. This was a make or break year, obviously, for everybody in terms of Tua Tagovailoa. But I will tell you, he has the #1 passer rating in the NFL here through 9 weeks. But again, at least in my opinion, you could attribute a lot of that to those pass catchers as he has out there. And I love coming in, I was a big Mike McDaniel. I love the offense that he ran in San Francisco, bringing that to Miami. And I loved just everything about that offense. And he's doing a great job of finding ways to get Waddle and Tyreek Hill the ball. And again, I think Tua's done his part, but I think they have done their part of getting open and allowing him to make those throws.
No, without a shadow of a doubt. And look, I've seen people say, he's better than Justin Herbert. I'm not going that far.
We're not going that far.
Yeah, I'm not going that far.
I'm not doing
Give
that.
Tua tons of credit.
Not doing that.
Look, you're showing why people thought you were that guy.
That guy, yeah.
Okay, but I need another year from you. And
I agree.
I'll say this, and I think Tyreek Hill has. It's crazy. I'm even going to make this statement, but I think you guys will agree with me. Tyreek Hill might be the most criminally under-acclaimed elite wideout we've ever seen, because when he left Kansas City, it didn't have this feel like, man, they're getting that guy. It was like, oh, he was a gimmick piece.
Because of
He's
Patrick
in Kansas
Mahomes,
City because of
and that
Patrick
offense,
Mahomes.
Andy Reid.
It's because of Andy Reid. And, man, he's going in there and he was like, no, I'm that guy. I've always been that guy.
I'll say this.
I agree 100%.
I thought he was that guy.
Right.
I watched him in college, and he was that guy. So
Right.
I
That's
knew
right.
what his skill set translated to coming to the NFL and now going to a different team. The question wasn't him; it was Tua's arm. To get the ball to him.
And he tried to reassure everybody, right? He tried.
And Tua's he's still throwing some ducks up there.
They do have to, I'm telling you, they've got 10 or 15 yards. You watch some of these games, him and Waddle have these DBs beat by 10 yards.
they're
and they have to come back to get the ball because Tua has sometimes the making his read.
But Tyreek made a catch last week where you thought he was 6'5" across the middle. He just reached outstretched and jumped up
got
and
hit in the back, right?
snatched out the air.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you're like
Top receiver in the
5'11".
NFL.
Like
Gotta
you're
be,
not
absolutely.
6'5", and you're catching the ball like his catch radius is insane.
It's incredible. Yeah.
I know they talk about that draft word catch radius, but he has it.
No, he's amazing.
And again, everybody coming in thought Tyreek, they weren't going to get his deal in Kansas City wasn't going to give him his deal with the Chiefs, and everybody thought, take some less money, stay with Patrick Mahomes, stay with that Chiefs offense. He said, no, I'll go wherever. It doesn't matter because I'm still going to put up numbers. He said, I'll put up numbers. He said he could put numbers all three of us, and whoever's playing quarterback. Again, he's going to be, I believe, on pace to be the first NFL receiver to hit 2,000 yards this year. He's on pace to break Megatron's records. We'll see if that happens with Tua Tagovailoa as his quarterback still. I mean, just absolutely insane first 8 weeks of the season for Tyreek. I mean, I thought he was going to be good. I didn't think he was going to be this good with Miami.
No, and you know what's incredible is as great as Pat Mahomes is, I have even a deeper appreciation for him this season because literally it's Travis Kelce and it's a plethora of guys. You don't know who it could be. 1 minute it could be Scantless Valdez, and one next minute it could be Smith-Schuster, next minute it could be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's a little harder to know where it's going to come from.
Absolutely.
And then you have McCall Hardman who's out there who's just fast guy on the field. Yeah. So I've appreciated watching Mahomes this year. I think I took for granted how good he is, and it's been a joy to watch him this year. It really has.
I agree. I agree with you there 100%. Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, both doing their things. Even, don't have to be together to still show out the way they have here in 2022. Also here, we'll wrap up on the trade deadline. 2 more things to get to. One of them, Calvin Ridley, who again was a lot of the trade talks last year before the whole suspension occurred for sports gambling.
Mr. 1500.
Betting, I believe, on his own team, I think.
Mr. 1500.
When he wasn't even playing, so he was suspended for the season. But whenever he does come back, he will be with the Jacksonville Jaguars and Doug Peterson going out and getting Trevor Lawrence, that go-to guy. They give Christian Kirk a lot of money there in the offseason to be the number one this year. He's played pretty well, maybe not your number one receiver in that type of offense, but he's played pretty well. Now they go and get Calvin Ridley, who's had a spectacular career with Atlanta. He'll be back, I believe, next season. They get him for a 5th rounder and a conditional 4th round pick. To me, guys, this looks like a steal on paper for Calvin Ridley and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jason, how do you feel?
He made one mistake, and that's really it.
And again, there's been worse mistakes.
But he made one mistake, and that was it. But I think that the season that Drake London's having made him expendable in Atlanta. So
and Kyle Pitts starting to turn on, but again, a tight end.
You cut ties. I think changing scenery is great for both teams.
I think so. I think we're good for Ridley especially.
But Ridley going to Jacksonville with your boy ETN and with Christian Kirk next year. I mean, Jacksonville is still tough to play right now, even though they're,
The defense is pretty good. They started off hot this year.
But next season, when you're lining up Ridley and Kirk,
ETN in the back.
You're gonna need to have 2 solid DBs. To go against those guys next year, because if Kirk gets you in those intermediate slant routes, and then you have Ridley over the top, put your hands up.
I like it a lot.
But I love the trade for Ridley, though, to Jacksonville. Doug Peterson has a go-to guy, and he does well with go-to players. So
I like it.
I
like Ridley.
I think it's going to be a good move, and Trevor Lawrence has the arm to get it to him. So.
And he needed, again, you talk about giving guys Fields gets Claypool. This one a little bit different. You give Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs a few years ago. He has a huge next year. Now you go out for Trevor Lawrence, and the verdict's kind of still out on Trevor Lawrence, right? These last few years, number 1 pick in the draft, the highest ranked recruit coming out of college since Andrew Luck at Stanford all those years ago.
I still don't understand how that was possible.
Supposed to be the next Peyton Manning was what they kind of highlighted him as. It's been 2 years. Looking a little bit better this year. Finally has a head coach. I know the Urban era didn't really do justice for Trevor Lawrence in his rookie season. That'd be tough for anyone. But here you are. You get him at least another receiver. So I'll ask you this, Matt. 1, what do you think of the deal? Is it good, obviously, for both parties? And then secondly, what are your views on Trevor Lawrence? Is he even still the best quarterback in this class going forward, a class that has Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, a lot of them having some sophomore slump seasons this year?
Yeah, I still think he's the top guy on paper.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, but I'll say this. I love Justin Fields.
I was going to say, I think it's Justin Fields. Are you going to go with that, or are you going somewhere else besides that?
I'm going somewhere else.
Oh, I would say Justin Fields would be number 2 for me. It's tough. I was a big Zach Wilson guy coming in, but he has not impressed me.
I'm going Zach Wilson as a top back out of that class.
I can't hate on it, because coming in, I was a big Zach Wilson. I loved what he did at BYU. He had the spin on the ball. But what I've seen from him the last few weeks has been tough for me.
Yeah, the problem with Zach Wilson is he got drafted as being a Mahomes type
Yeah, he did. That was the
quarterback because he
prototype.
throws off platform,
Big arm.
big arm, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he hasn't shown flashes, but he's also shown flashes that he can't hit certain guys. Garrett Wilson, for example, is wildly inconsistent. Elijah Moore?
Yeah.
Wanted out.
Frustrated as all can be, doesn't, he wanted to get traded. They said, nah, we can't trade you. So
And they asked him, they say, what's going on out there with Zach Wilson? Why is your
Yeah.
chemistry off? He said, I don't know. He doesn't throw me the ball.
Yeah. So, look, I do think if Zach can ever unlock what he has, I think he can be special just because of the ability to throw off platform is so unique and so hard to scheme against. But until I see that, I would have to say it's Trevor, followed by Fields, followed by Zach, followed by Trey Lance, followed by Mac Jones. That's how I see it, at least right now.
And again, last year at the conversation, the Patriots made the playoffs, and Mac Jones was the talk of the town. How the Niners should have taken him at 3 overall, right
Yeah,
over Trey
yeah.
Lance. That was the big talk.
Mac
Jason,
Jones is
what do you
trash.
think?
Yeah.
Mac Jones is trash.
Bailey Zappi, maybe?
I think Zappy looks
Zappy's
way
way
better.
better.
Yes, I agree with you. I'm right there with you.
Mac Jones is Greg McElroy 2.0.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
He does
Get
remind
out.
me of Greg Bagger.
Get out. Alabama, name a good Alabama quarterback outside of Hurts and Tua.
You had to go to name it.
Exactly. That's my
Bryce
point.
Young?
No, that's my point.
Yeah. You had to go to name it.
That's my
Bart
point.
Starr.
That's my point. And there's 7 years in between. Like, come on, like
Ken Stabler, I think.
Like-
you get to go back.
like Alabama really doesn't put out great quarterbacks.
Might as well go to leather helmets.
All right, again, Kevin Ridley
Pigskins.
with
Yeah.
the Jaguars. I do like the move. We all do. I think now, Trevor Lawrence finally going to have somebody again next year. So still a lot to worry about this year for the Jaguars. Kevin Ridley will be in uniform in Jacksonville next season. So before we wrap up, the one thing that stands out, Nyheim Hines from the Colts. Coming into the season, Frank Reich had a lot to say about Nyheim Hines. He's going to be a big part of the offense. If you have fantasy, make sure you draft Nyheim Hines. Well, that has not been the case with the Colts offense. It's been one of the worst offenses in football through 8 weeks. They fired their offensive coordinator today, so they're looking for a switch up. They made Sam Ehlinger the quarterback last week. He was a starter. I'm not sure if you guys watched that one. He did not look good. As a starter for the Colts, they wanted a jolt. They said he looked good at practice. I didn't see it there out on the field this past week. The Colts, obviously going to him for the injured Matt Ryan. They lose 17-16 at home to
Matt's not
Washington.
injured.
Yeah.
So now they
don't
send
want him.
though
Yeah,
Nyheim
Matt's
Hines
old.
guys to the Buffalo Bills. Is where he'll end up for Zach Moss, and then following up with a 6th-round pick. So almost a Hines-Moss swap here for these two teams. Just Jason, here quickly to you. What is your thought process if you're Indianapolis? Here, what do you think? An Ehlinger, the quarterback, are they throwing away? I mean, it doesn't seem like they want to throw away the season. They're making a lot of different moves. They don't know who's going to be their quarterback. What's going on in Indy?
They need to throw away Frank Reich.
That could be next.
They need to
They
throw
said
away
his
the-
job is safe as of
Yeah,
right
it's
now, so
safe-
we'll see.
Safe where? What on Monopoly not pass go? Not collect 200. Like his job should not be safe.
He must have flipped a coin to get that.
Yeah, his job should not be safe. Since he's been there, he's had 7 starting quarterbacks.
It's been, and again, if they didn't have Phillip Rivers that last year, who knows? They've been going out and just getting recycled old quarterbacks and going through them.
He should not be safe. And the fact that that John Taylor was hurt, and you still trade the person that was his backup, either way, no, that's
Maybe
not
they're
right.
like Deion Jackson, the other running back there, but still.
Who is that? Who? No, we know, but who is that?
Yeah.
Is he proven in this league? No.
No.
Hines is proven already.
Yep. That's a fact.
And whatever role he's in.
And that's why I ask you, what is the Colts' plan going forward? Is it now maybe they're
They don't know
thinking draft
themselves.
picks?
They don't know.
Maybe this
They
is it.
don't-
They're
they
just
don't.
that's a horrible division that maybe they were the favorites coming into the season. Now it's almost as if when you look at the standings,
The Titans are going to win that division.
I agree with you there.
Hands down.
I had the Jaguars early in the year. That was one of my picks to win the division. Doesn't look that
After you
great
saw
here
what
now.
Derrick Henry did last week, they're going to win the division.
So what do you think
I'll
about
say
Nyheim
this.
Hines?
I love Nyheim Hines in Buffalo. I think he's going to really fit a nice role for them. He's going to catch. He's going to be able to give that versatility as if Josh Allen needs more weapons, but he's going to get them. Let me say this. I look at this camera when I say this. Michael Pittman, get out. Get out as fast as you can. Don't end
You're right
up.
about that, though.
Dude.
Come to Baltimore.
Yeah. Go somewhere where somebody can get you the ball. Because
It's been brutal
I've
for him.
never seen a wideout that talented that just cannot get the ball to him. It's amazing.
At all.
I mean, I think he's a guy that can be a Pro Bowler in the right setup. He just can't get the ball.
If you don't want a quarterback, all in the videos. Come to Baltimore.
Come to Baltimore.
We'll take you.
Yeah.
And again, Matt Ryan, who was the quarterback coming in to last week's game, led the NFL in turnovers. And then Sam Ehlinger didn't exactly put up a lot of points in his debut as a starter, though, just his first start in the NFL. Yeah, Pittman's going to be
He got benched at Texas.
hoping for somewhere else. He might have hoped he was going to Baltimore with Naheem Hines. Wouldn't that have been something?
Matt Ryan's got to trade in that ARP card, man. It's time to go, bro.
Time to go, bro.
So let's move on, guys. Let's talk NBA here for the final 10 minutes as we have some big news to get started, guys. We got to start at the top. Something that we've talked about in the past season or in the offseason, Matt, was the job security of Steve Nash. I think all three of us agreed, including Dennis, that it would probably be his time to go. Not last year. They retained him for this year, but it took him not long into the 2022-23 NBA season, 2-5, I believe, until they get rid of Steve Nash. So they have fired Steve Nash, parted ways. It's been reported both ways. Steve Nash, very amicable in his way out. But he will no longer be the head coach of the Nets, and they are now reportedly in discussions with Ime Udoka to take over the job. It's been said from the Boston Celtics that they
Put my face on camera like that.
Boston said, Jason, they said, we're going to let him do whatever he wants. If he wants to go coach in Brooklyn, let him. Go coach in Brooklyn. But before we get into that aspect, Jason, let's just talk quickly, guys, about Steve Nash. 94-67 as the coach of the Brooklyn Nets. They won one playoff round in his tenure. KD and Kyrie played only 64 of those games together. KD, Kyrie, and Harden only 16 of those games together. So again, he went 94-67 at a .584 win percentage, which is the best record of any coach in Brooklyn history. Obviously, though, the performance was not where they wanted it to be, and I think we're all in agreement there. Matt, we'll start with you here for this. The right move for Brooklyn, let it go Steve Nash this early in the season?
Yeah, I thought he should have been let go last year.
I think we did as well.
You know, and I was told on Facebook that I was wrong and that he was a good coach and I needed to give him time.
There's a difference.
And I asked people, I said, have you watched them play? If you've watched them play, what offense are they running? What are they running?
And they no defense at all.
Give the ball to Kyrie, get out the way. Give the ball to KD, get out the way. That was literally the offensive game plan. And in this era of the NBA, I think that worked in the 90s, but in this era, it doesn't work as well. You got to have cohesion. You got to have chemistry. You got to have pieces that are moving and get on the board. Don't get me wrong. When you need a clutch shot or you need that tough basket, then you say, here's the ball, get to it. But you can't do that every single play down the floor. And I asked people, what did you see from Steve Nash that shows you that he was equipped to be an NBA coach right now? I didn't see it.
And if they said anything, they were lying to you, Matt. That's just the facts. Again, Steve Nash. But you said, the defense, even historically, the last few seasons has been the worst in the NBA. Yeah. They can't defend anyone, Jason. And obviously the offense didn't have no flow, no rhythm. You saw that in the first round of the playoffs last year against Boston. It was just light work for them. What do you think about everything going on in Brooklyn? And again, Simmons missing his second consecutive game tonight. He has been horrible since he's been in a Brooklyn Nets uniform. And he is on a max deal with Brooklyn. Again, words out of Brooklyn as they are. That's the one thing in the NBA you don't want is a bad player on a big contract. And that's what they've got in Brooklyn.
That's his agent.
It's not looking good there for again.
Nash,
and Vegas just refuses to lower them down. And every year they're the favorites to win the East.
Steve Nash should have never been hired as a head coach.
It was a risky move at the time. It came out of nowhere.
Never been hired as a head coach. He had no coaching experience. He wasn't even an assistant. He wasn't
it was out of left field right at the time.
It was nothing. So therefore, you get what you pay for. And at the exact same time, what team associated with Steve Nash's name has ever played good defense? Don't worry, I'll wait. Pick one. You won't find one.
None.
And
it showed.
I guess he thought that Kyrie was himself with a better offensive game. And he must have thought that KD was a slender Amari Stoudemire or something. You can just run and gun like that with those two guys. But no, you need other players.
And again, guys coming in, it was this year, if Kyrie just doesn't say anything crazy, if he just puts his head down, plays the game, we're 3 games in and he's already saying crazy things again. How long do you think? What do you think of Kyrie's long-term stance with Brooklyn?
Kyrie's gonna be in Brooklyn.
You think so?
Yeah, he's gonna be in Brooklyn.
Stuck.
The thing is, Kyrie knows he has KD in his back pocket.
But still,
And
I mean, my goodness.
he's
How
going
long
to
can you let
stay.
this go on if you're Durant, right?
Listen, you don't have to be friends. You just have to get along well in the court.
I don't know, but are they doing that
They
so
are.
far?
They are. I watched that game last night. Pretty effective. And the Nets are using Claxton more finally. And they had a great pickup in picking up Watanabe, which he's on the Nets. Oh, that's okay. Okay, and then they still have Seth Curry hasn't played yet this season.
Yeah, that'll be big when he's able to come back.
And Joe Harris is back playing now, so they had the pieces. They need a different voice.
And again, Jock Vaughn now going to step in and be that head coach.
Jock Vaughn was interim coach before.
Exactly, and has some head coaching experience.
Well, he's been in the Nets before. He's interim coach before.
So we'll see how that goes. How do you see everything going in Brooklyn here? What's the outlook on Brooklyn going forward?
I think it's a circus right now. I think they need some stability. So whether it's Jacques Vaughn or whether it's Ime Udoka, whoever goes in there has to learn how to manage these egos. You saw it with, I always say to people, Phil Jackson wasn't the greatest X and O's guy, but he was the greatest manager of egos. He could get guys on the same page. That's what they need. They need somebody who comes in there and those guys buy into the vision and buy into what they need to do. I do agree. I think Kyrie and I think KD will stay there as long as they have each other. But I will say this. Frustration, if they don't start showing themselves as championships, will start to come in. Because whether KD wants to admit it or not, his eye still has one eye on Golden State, and he sees what's he doing. Whether or not he wants to admit it, he's irritated. Because he knows that could have been me. I could have had another one. So at the end of the day, look, I think Brooklyn still has those. I mean, whether we like it or not, whether we like Ben Simmons and all these other pieces, we still have to admit one thing. KD and Kyrie together are one of the better offensive duos that we have in the league.
That we've ever seen.
Yeah, that we've ever seen. I mean, Kyrie is arguably one of the most skilled guys we've ever seen, and KD, I don't think we've ever seen somebody with his size other than like Wilt Chamberlain, who played in the post, that has his ability to put points on the board. So it's insane. So I think they have a legit shot as long as you have that type of talent.
Playoff team?
I do. I think yes.
Oh, you definitely
Playoff team?
for
You
sure.
think so? They get in, play in, or playoff team?
No, they're probably
going to be
8,
7, 8, 6, 7?
They're between 4 and 6.
Okay, so there we go. We'll see.
They're between 4 and 6.
Again, now without Steve Nash, I do think some positive things maybe going forward for the Nets. Jason, before we wrap up quickly, your thoughts on Udoka, going through a lot of stuff with Boston right now. Just one being
give me the
able to
camera
get,
right now.
Just
give it
one
here.
being able to get another job in general, Jason, but this all stuff came out about a month ago, and he's already on his way to another head coaching position. What are your thoughts on that?
The Nets need to be fined for tampering. They've been doing this since last season. They wanted Udoka from the beginning, the former member of their coaching staff on the previous regime in Brooklyn. There's always been whispers about Udoka in Brooklyn. This is a travesty. I'm hot. I am upset. I'm pissed. I'm livid. Whatever other word you want to use, I'm that. To take our coach and able to backdoor him into a contract, literally. The NBA, you got to do better. This can't happen. But it is what it is, We got Coach Mazzella doing all right with us this year, so just upset.
And again, Jason, if you're talking just, forget everything that's happened with him in the past month or two, X's and O's, head coach-wise.
And ego managing.
Ego management-wise. Could there have even been a better option if you're Brooklyn, you're looking
Mark
around?
NBA,
that's a pretty good, what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah,
consolation plan if you're Brooklyn. We just had Ime Udoka drop in our laps. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Udoka is the logical choice for Brooklyn, but why is Mark Jackson still calling games instead of coaching them? I still have a problem with that. I'm sorry. I just have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Hell, Jeff Van Gundy could be back on the sideline somewhere.
Yeah.
I have a problem with coaches with that pedigree calling games when there are teams that are young that need that kind of teaching.
Right.
And
Mark
Mark
not being
Jackson
taught.
got that Warriors team started back when a little bit before
Mark
Curry,
Jackson is the architect of that first Warriors championship team.
All right, well, there you have it, guys, for Ime Udoka. Now, before we wrap up here tonight, again, we will get in the rest of our East preview soon, I promise you, when we run out of headlines and stuff. We got 4 games on the slate tonight, guys. Okay. We're going to pick one as our lock of the night. 7:30, 2 games about to tip off, then 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. We got Dennis's. Dennis is going to roll with the Phoenix Suns tonight at home over the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's Dennis's lock of the night. Guys, let's go over the slate here. Warriors at the Heat, Bulls at the Nets, Magic at the Thunder, and Timberwolves at the Suns. What are you guys thinking for your locks of the night? Jason, we'll start with you. 4 games.
Hell, I don't like any of the 4 games to begin with. If you're going to be honest, but I'm looking at Matt's face like, I got to pick this from these 4 games. I don't like these.
Yeah,
they're all close lines as well.
Can you run through those again for me, please?
Yeah, you know what? I'll give you a visual.
You know what?
This is a tough one. So again, we went with Dennis. Dennis is going with the Suns.
This is nasty work right here.
These are close to pick'em games. Yeah, these are tough.
These are all pick'ems.
So Suns at home for Dennis over the Timberwolves.
I'm going to go with the Nets at home over the Bulls.
Jacques Vaughn debut for the season. Usually when a team fires a coach, you get a little bit of a jolt there. We'll see.
You got to forget, Jacques Vaughn's also a former Net as a player, too.
And again, no Ben Simmons tonight. We'll see if that is
Do they need Ben Simmons?
Is that a benefit, though, maybe for the
offense,
Brooklyn Nets? We'll see going forward. Matt, what are you thinking out of these 4?
I'm going with the Magic.
Magic. There you go. Paolo Banchero.
Paolo.
Our boy, baby. Paolo's our boy.
I think Powell will get something done, and I think the Thunder, they're going to start calling down and telling them, look, we're trying to get Victor Wanabe from
Man, if you haven't seen him yet.
from France, man. So he's like, look, we need that. We got to start losing guys. Come on.
Exactly. Hey, everybody's saying that. The Spurs have been beating teams by 30.
Can't say that all out.
Yeah.
So again, for
low management.
I'm going to go give me the Warriors on the road. I know Miami is undefeated.
I knew you could pick that game.
You know you pick that game. But again, Miami's a favorite in this one. Give me the Warriors on the road. That's going to be a tough one. It's just something about the Heat, but they still, they're only 2-5, but somehow they
Jimmy said they're going to win
championships
or something like that today.
Hey.
Something out of his mouth.
Hey, you got to think that way, I guess, right?
Did they take his lock extensions out yet? Did they take out his weave yet?
Must took some of that logic out of him, too.
Yeah, it took them both that.
No titles.
So give me the Warriors on the road over the Heat. Jason going with the Nets at home. Matt's going with the Magic, and Dennis is going with the Suns. And we all picked 4. We picked every game on the slate. How about that? All different ones. It doesn't get much better than that.
So somebody's liable to win.
That's right. Or we go 0-4. We'll wait and find out tomorrow. We'll but again, some big news. NFL trade deadline. NBA starting to pick up and get into the season here. And also the Phillies, 8:03 tonight.
Show that time.
First pitch. World Series game number 3. Yesterday's postponed. Let's take a lead in this World Series, fellas. 2-1. Let's get a 2-1 lead. Next 3 are in Philly. Let's wrap it up. Let's not head back to Houston. Let's just take care of business.
This series is over in 5. I picked the Phillies in 5 when the series started.
Oh, okay. Hey, Jason's second, I got a good feeling about it because he's been pretty good with his championship predictions. So that'll do it for us all here tonight. For Jason, for Matt, I'm Nick Alessandrini. We will see you on Thursday. Thanks for tuning in to DETV.